Have you ever felt like you're constantly surrounded by people who drain your energy? People who bring drama, manipulation, or emotional chaos into your life, even when all you want is peace and quiet? Maybe you've walked away from a conversation with a friend or even a family member and thought to yourself, why do I always end up in these situations? Or maybe you found yourself replaying what you should have said hours after the fact, wishing you had handled it differently, wishing you didn't feel so pulled into their emotional storm. If you're nodding along, I want you to know, you are not alone. And more importantly, it's not your fault. As we get older, our tolerance for nonsense goes down. Our patience gets thinner, not because we're cranky, but because we've lived long enough to recognize what truly matters and what's just noise. But for some reason, certain people still manage to find us. Toxic people, manipulators, complainers, emotional vampires. And even when we try to avoid them, somehow they keep showing up. Now here's the surprising part. They're not showing up by accident. See, there's something going on beneath the surface. Something psychological, something subtle, something that has less to do with them and more to do with the energy we unconsciously give off. Today, we're going to talk about how to change that, how to finally stop attracting toxic people into your life. And don't worry, this isn't about becoming cold or distant. It's not about cutting everyone off or walking around suspicious of every person you meet. No, this is about making powerful inner shifts that protect your peace without you having to say a word. There are 3 powerful methods we're going to focus on, and each one builds upon the other. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why certain people are drawn to you and how to quietly, confidently stop that from happening ever again. So let's start with the first one. It may surprise you because it doesn't involve confrontation, speeches, or setting boundaries. It's something deeper. It's something called neutrality. Now, if you're like most people, the word neutral might sound like being passive, like being a doormat. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Real neutrality is one of the most powerful tools you can ever learn. Think of it like this. Toxic people feed off of reactions. Just like mosquitoes are drawn to heat and movement, these kinds of people are drawn to emotional energy. Whether it's your anger, your guilt, your confusion, or even your kindness, they know how to provoke you, how to pull you into their world, and how to make your peace feel like it's under attack. And the more you react, even if you're defending yourself, even if you're trying to be helpful, the more you give them exactly what they want. Your energy. Neutrality is what stops that pattern cold. Let's say someone close to you makes a passive-aggressive comment. Maybe they say something like, well, must be nice to just sit around all day while the rest of us do the work, even though you've been doing plenty. In the past, you might have snapped back, or maybe you over-explained trying to prove your worth. But this time, imagine just letting it pass. Not coldly, not dismissively, just calmly, like a wave rolling over a rock. You smile softly, you don't argue, you don't bite the bait, you just stay rooted. Now here's what happens in that moment. They don't get what they want. They don't get your emotional reaction. You've denied them their power. And for people who thrive on chaos, that's like taking away their oxygen. You see, toxic people can't handle emotional silence. It makes them uncomfortable. And over time, they either change their behavior around you, or they go looking for a new target. When you practice neutrality, you stop being the emotional playground for other people's insecurities. You stop being the outlet for their projections. You become, in a sense, psychologically invisible to them. And not because you're hiding, but because there's nothing for them to latch onto. Now don't worry, this doesn't mean you lose your voice. It doesn't mean you stop speaking up when necessary. It just means you speak from a place of calm, not chaos. And that shift changes everything. If you've ever watched someone try to argue with a brick wall, you know how quickly they give up. It's not because the wall is rude or mean, it's just solid, still, unshakable. And in this context, that's exactly what neutrality gives you. It gives you emotional stillness, even when someone's trying to pull you into their storm. Here's a little trick you can try the next time someone tries to provoke you. Just take one breath before you respond. One breath. Let them finish their words. Let the silence hang. And in that space, ask yourself, do I really need to say anything? Or can I let them wrestle with their own discomfort? You'll be amazed how quickly things shift. Now I know what you might be thinking. But if I don't stand up for myself, won't they walk all over me? And that's a valid concern. But remember, neutrality is not weakness. It's restraint. It's the strength to choose your energy instead of handing it over like spare change. You've earned your peace. You've lived too many years and learned too many lessons to waste your precious energy trying to fix people who don't want to be fixed, or to defend yourself to those who have no interest in understanding you. Your peace is not up for negotiation. Neutrality doesn't just protect you from drama, it also helps you connect more deeply with those who deserve your presence. Because when you're not busy reacting to every little dig, you start to notice the people who speak with kindness, who listen, who respect your silence. And those are the people worth your time. You'll start to feel lighter, not because the world changed, but because you're no longer carrying other people's baggage. And it all begins with a breath, a pause, a choice not to react. Let that be your first step. The world may still be noisy. People may still try to get under your skin, but from this moment forward, you don't have to answer every knock at the emotional door. You get to choose who enters. You get to choose your peace. Now, let's go even deeper. Because while neutrality can protect you in the moment, there's something even more powerful you can build within yourself. Something that stops toxic people from ever getting close in the first place. Let's talk about that next. There's something powerful that happens when you stop reacting to every little jab, every sarcastic remark, every guilt trip thrown your way. You start to feel space open up inside you. Space that used to be crowded with overthinking, second-guessing, and trying to keep everyone else comfortable. And in that space, something new starts to take shape. Something even stronger than neutrality. It's what I like to call your inner fence, your internal boundaries. Now, when most people hear the word boundaries, they think of external ones. Saying no to others, cutting people off, telling someone they've crossed the line. And yes, those things matter. But external boundaries don't mean much if the inside of you is still wide open. If your inner world is still whispering, I need to be liked. I need to keep the peace. I can't upset anyone or they might leave. It's that inner whisper, barely audible, that gets so many of us into trouble, especially when we've spent a lifetime being the steady one, the dependable one, the one who doesn't rock the boat. But let me ask you something. What good is being the rock if everyone else keeps stepping on you? Internal boundaries are what protect your mind and heart from emotional intruders. They're the invisible line that says, I know who I am, I know what I'm worth, and I don't need your approval to feel safe. For so many people in their 60s and beyond, this is a lesson that comes late, but not too late. Because once you learn to set boundaries from the inside out, everything shifts. You stop feeling obligated to explain yourself. You stop carrying guilt that was never yours. And most importantly, you stop playing roles that don't serve you anymore. Maybe you've played the role of the peacemaker your whole life, or the helper, or the fixer. Maybe you were the one who always kept the family together, even when no one thanked you for it. And maybe now you're starting to realize you're tired. Not angry, not bitter, just tired. And that's a good thing. Because being tired of carrying everyone else's emotional weight means you're ready to put it down. That's what internal boundaries are really about. They're not walls, they're not weapons. They're simply the quiet understanding that your well-being matters too. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone close to you, maybe a grown child, a friend, or a sibling, always brings their problems to your doorstep. They call only when something goes wrong. They unload their stress, and when you try to help, they don't take your advice. Or worse, they blame you if things don't work out. Before, you might have stayed on the phone for hours, tried to fix things, sacrificed your own peace to be there for them. But with internal boundaries, something shifts. You still care. You still love them. But you stop feeling responsible for solving what isn't yours to solve. You might say calmly, "I'm really sorry you're going through this. I believe you'll figure it out." And then, you let go. No guilt, no anxiety, just love, with limits. It's not selfish, it's self-respect. People who are emotionally manipulative, who guilt, shame, or pressure others, can only do so when they find something inside us that's still seeking approval. That's why toxic people are often so subtle. They don't always yell or attack. Sometimes they just sigh, or go silent, or give you that look, the one that says, "You've disappointed me." And without even realizing it, you rush to make things right. But here's the truth. Not everyone's disappointment is your responsibility. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every frown means you've done something wrong. When your internal boundaries are strong, you stop interpreting every reaction as a reflection of your worth, and something else beautiful happens. You start to realize that real love doesn't come with strings. Real love doesn't punish you when you say no. Real love doesn't disappear the moment you stand up for yourself. I know this can be hard, especially when you were raised in a generation that taught you to be polite, to be giving, to not upset anyone. But there's a difference between being kind and being available for emotional manipulation. One comes from strength, the other comes from fear. So ask yourself, where are you still afraid to disappoint others? Where do you feel you must explain, justify, or apologize for having needs? That's where your boundaries need to be rebuilt. And here's the thing, people won't always like it when you start to change, especially those who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Some will push back, some may even accuse you of being distant or cold, but their reaction is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that you're finally doing something different. And different is good. Different is growth. Different is freedom. Think of your internal boundaries like the roots of a tree. The stronger they are, the less the wind can shake you. The less other people's moods and words can knock you off balance. You still feel, of course. You still care, but you're not ruled by it. You're not run by other people's storms. And that kind of groundedness? It's magnetic to the right people and invisible to the wrong ones. When someone who thrives on control or drama approaches you, and they sense you're not easily swayed, not desperate for approval, not shaken by emotional tactics, they quickly lose interest. You don't taste the same to them anymore. Because the part of you that used to feed them, that guilt, that fear, that self-doubt, is gone. You're no longer nourishing their dysfunction, and you don't need to explain this to anyone. In fact, the more you explain, the more they'll try to hook you again. Sometimes the most powerful sentence you can say is, "I'm not available for that." No anger, no drama, just clarity. And with that clarity comes peace. You wake up feeling lighter. You go to bed with less clutter in your mind. You start to enjoy your own company more because you're not constantly ruminating over what you said, what you should have said, or how to fix someone else's mess. That peace, it's priceless. And here's the beautiful part. When you protect your peace, you give others permission to do the same. You model a new way of being, one where love and respect go both ways, where silence doesn't mean guilt, where no is a full sentence. This is your life, your energy, your story, You get to decide who gets a seat at your table and who doesn't. And when you live from that place of strength, of inner knowing, of unshakable calm, the world starts to feel different, softer, simpler, kinder. You no longer have to manage other people's emotions to feel safe. You no longer have to be the emotional sponge in every room. You get to breathe again. But there's one more piece to this puzzle, one last shift that makes everything else click into place. And it may be the hardest one of all. It's not just about how you respond to others. It's about how you see yourself. It's about facing the parts of you that you've kept in the shadows, the parts you've hidden, denied, or judged. Because as long as you keep rejecting your own darkness, someone out there will always be able to use it against you. And that is where we go next. There comes a moment in life when you look in the mirror and realize you've been carrying pieces of yourself in secret. The parts you don't talk about, the emotions you've pushed down, the things you've thought but never dared to say out loud. Not because you're a bad person, far from it, but because somewhere along the line, you were told, that part of you, that's not okay. So you buried it. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was a fierce need to be heard, or a longing to be important, to take up space. But instead, you learned to stay small, to be agreeable, to not rock the boat. And every time that hidden part of you tried to surface, you tucked it away again, thinking, good people don't feel this way. But here's the truth. Every single one of us has a shadow. And the shadow isn't evil. It's just the parts of us we've been taught to hide. One of the great minds of psychology said something powerful. To know your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. Let that sink in for a moment. It means that the more you accept the messy, complicated, emotional parts of yourself, the less control they have over you. And just as importantly, the less likely you are to attract people who want to exploit those parts. You see, toxic people are experts at sensing shame. They can smell it like a bloodhound. If there's something in you that you're still afraid to look at, still afraid to admit, still trying to deny, they'll find it. And they'll push on it until it hurts. That's how they pull you in. They poke at the sore spots. They make comments that hit too close to home. And suddenly, you feel exposed, off balance, and desperate to prove you're not who they think you are. That's how the cycle begins. You react. They feed, and around you go. But here's the secret. No one tells you. When you've faced your own darkness, when you've looked it in the eye and said, yes, that's a part of me too, it loses its power. No one can shame you with something you've already accepted. Think about it. If someone accused you of being angry, and you've made peace with your anger, it doesn't shake you. You might even say, yes, I do feel angry sometimes, that's normal. And just like that, the emotional game falls apart. They can't hook you anymore, because you've stopped hiding from yourself. This is what it means to integrate your shadow. It's not about becoming a saint. It's not about pretending you never feel jealous or petty or impatient. It's about becoming honest with yourself, honest about the full spectrum of what it means to be human. And when you live in that truth, you stop needing everyone else to like you, to understand you, to validate you, because you've already accepted yourself. That kind of self-acceptance is magnetic. It draws in the right people, those who respect your wholeness, not just your politeness. And it repels the ones who seek control, because when there's nothing hidden, there's nothing to attack. Now, you might be wondering, how do I even begin to face those parts of myself? And that's a fair question. It's not about digging through your past or reliving old wounds unless you want to. Sometimes, it's as simple as noticing your own reactions. Let's say you feel irritated by someone who's always bragging. Instead of brushing it off or pretending it doesn't bother you, ask yourself, why does this get under my skin? Maybe deep down you were taught that speaking confidently is selfish, so you've muted your own voice for years. Maybe their boldness reminds you of a part of yourself, you've been afraid to express. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's a doorway, a mirror, an invitation to reclaim a part of yourself. The same goes for people who make you feel intimidated or insecure, or even fascinated. Often the people who trigger us the most are reflecting back something we've disowned in ourselves. When you start to see those moments as clues, not criticisms, you gain power. You stop feeling like a victim of your relationships. You start to see the hidden patterns and gently, courageously break them. This is the quiet transformation, the shift that no one else may see right away, but that changes everything inside you. You walk differently. You speak differently. You no longer shrink when someone disapproves. You no longer chase people who withhold love. You no longer react to drama with confusion or guilt. Instead, you pause, you breathe, you stay grounded, and you let the storm pass around you, not through you. That's the power of shadow integration, and it's a power that belongs to you. No matter your age, no matter your past, no matter how long you've carried these patterns. You don't need to become someone else. You just need to become more of who you already are. Fully, honestly, completely. And once you do, something remarkable happens. The world gets quieter. The chaos dies down. Not because the toxic people disappear overnight, but because they stop being drawn to you. Your energy changes. Your boundaries strengthen. Your self-worth shines through, without needing to prove itself. You become, in the deepest sense of the word, free. Free to live on your own terms. Free to choose your company. Free to say no without guilt and yes without fear. Free to wake up each day with a lighter heart. Because you're no longer carrying the burden of being perfect, pleasing, or passive. You simply get to be you, and that is enough. So if this message has spoken to something inside you, if it's stirred up a quiet knowing that it's time to stop attracting the wrong people and start reclaiming your peace, then I invite you to take the next step. Leave a comment below and tell me, what part of today's message impacted you most? When you write it out, something powerful happens. It becomes real. It moves from your mind into your life. You begin the process of integration. And if this video helped you in any way, I'd be grateful if you'd give it a like, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe to Strong Elderly Life for more simple, powerful tools to help you live your best, most grounded years yet. Remember, your age is not a weakness. It's your strength. It means you've seen enough to know what matters. You've felt enough to value your peace. And now, you're wise enough to stop dancing with chaos. Here's to living freely, courageously, wholeheartedly, at any age, and especially now.